Welcome to the NeuBird product overview. My name is François Martel and I'm Field CTO. We're going to talk about our Agentic AI incident response. But first, why? Why do people leverage our technology with their Azure deployments? 80% mean time to resolution reduction, that drives significant cost savings. So if you have a complex hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, or Azure deployment, you know what MTTR stands for. It stands for mean time to resolution, and your teams sometimes take hours to resolve issues that translates into bottom line costs to your business. So that's the first thing. The second thing is customers come to us for IT productivity. So we're talking about 10x, productivity for the SREs because now they have an AI-powered diagnostics, automated correlations across tools and reporting. And then finally, customers save a lot of money in part because of this combination of productivity and reduction in MTTR. So 60% plus of the incident costs can be taken out. And they do this with their existing service infrastructure, their existing observability tools, and across industries. So 3 quick examples of results we're getting. We have an insurance company that is hybrid cloud that has reduced their mean time to resolution. So this is a complex environment where you have systems of engagement deployed on Azure, but the uh, systems of record are still on premise, and they use a mix of observability tools. So Hawkeye can help them resolve issues across this complex environment. Second example here is a logistics and package delivery company here in the US that has a lot of data pipelines that run every night. And so, with all these pipelines, modern technology stacks, there's still some failures, and it becomes complicated to resolve issues across Flink running on AKS and Databricks. And so, they now are able to reduce their alert fatigue by being able to explain why things are failing and what to do about it. And the last example is a bank in Australia that started with a very simple use case, monitoring their backups. And they saw massive gains in productivity because we could automate the required documentation of backup failures and explaining why they occurred and what to do about them really drove the productivity way up, saving hundreds of hours a month in manual investigations and write-up times. This is what we're helping with, right? Most of our customers have already invested a lot in observability, and they are still facing these issues. So why are they facing these issues? Well, I mentioned hybrid cloud, but cloud in general has a lot of layers, a lot of complexity, a lot of services are involved, and it's a very dynamic environment. And so it can take a long time for frontline support people to explain what's going on when they don't have a deep understanding of this complex architecture. They're also drowning in a tremendous amount of data, and not everyone is a expert at writing queries to pull back just the right information. And they have hundreds of alerts and thousands of alerts and hundreds of dashboards that they use to get to this data. And so they don't have clarity. They have just a lot of data to navigate. And so what inevitably happens is you get a lot of people involved. In comes Hawkeye. Hawkeye is our AI SRE agent that takes you from a manual IT incident response to an autonomous incident response. And so you'll notice the tools remain the same, but you're going from people that are using SOPs, documentation, dashboards, incident response systems like PagerDuty, and then search through their observability with queries. And now you have a agent that's automatically going to respond to the alert, do the root cause analysis, and then prepare a document that summarizes the findings and recommends corrective actions. This significantly reduces the resolution time. Hawkeye works with all your existing tools. So there's no need to change what you're doing. Hawkeye will just connect into your tools and work inside your workflow. This addresses the main challenges that I mentioned earlier, cost of incident being the main way that people justify the cost of Hawkeye. Reducing MTTR translates into dollar savings. Incidents can cost anywhere between 0 to tens of thousands of dollars per minute. So by shaving off minutes in the resolution time, we are able to minimize business impact. Slow time to resolution also translates into a lot of work. So we're minimizing the gathering of engineers to solve a single incident. We're able to solve more incidents just with the level 1 support engineer on the call versus having to pull in all these highly talented and engineers that should be innovating. And then finally, alert fatigue. When you're getting so many alerts and you don't know which one to look at, some alerts inevitably get ignored, and those alerts might lead to bigger problems. So, demonstration. So this is Hawkeye, and what you're seeing here are the different projects that I have, and you see projects tie some connections together. So Hawkeye connects to your telemetry sources, but also to your incident management system. So here you see ServiceNow, Azure Monitor, Splunk, and Grafana, and we have a different variety. Here you see GitHub and PagerDuty. So we also connect to things like Azure DevOps, GitHub, as well as other clouds like AWS. And you can have actually multi-cloud environments monitored by Hawkeye. So we're going to go to this project here that has Azure Monitor and PagerDuty. And when I say Azure Monitor, what you'll see is that you have some alerts coming from Azure Monitor, but you will see in the investigation, we can actually investigate by querying the configurations in your Azure accounts. On the left here, you have alerts that have not been investigated yet, and I can run investigations manually. You'll notice that some of these are grouped together. And so you have a group of alerts that are related, and one investigation is going to explain multiple alerts together. We can look at the actual incident info. So you'll see that this has a lot of context. This context is what is used to launch the investigation. So I can launch that investigation by going back to the dashboard and triggering the investigation manually, right? So I can hit the run investigation. And now Hawkeye is going to generate a run book on the fly to run this investigation. And we'll get back to this investigation in a second. While that's working, we're going to look at an investigation that's already completed. So let's go look at a summary of a past investigation, because that is usually how you leverage Hawkeye. It will automatically trigger based on an incident, and by the time you go and consult it, it's already done. And by the way, this root cause analysis that you're looking at here can be published to your Microsoft Teams for this incident, or back to your ServiceNow. So here you have a root cause, the timeline of events, the corrective actions, and sometimes the corrective actions will be to get more information. Sometimes it will be to actually resolve the issue. So here we're seeing recommendations for digging deeper into the problem. So we're helping the incident responder get to the bottom of the issue, and after running these commands, they can paste their results here and have Hawkeye pursue the next stage of the investigation. Some investigations will actually have identified the ultimate root cause and the ultimate resolution, and that can be passed along to something like GitHub Copilot for automated resolution. So we'll be able to open a GitHub issue and then have Copilot resolve the actual issue. And you see the run book here is a set of questions. For each question, there's a summary of all the details related to that question. And the ultimate root cause is basically aggregating all this information into a simple narrative of what happened and why. And you see the sources here. You see configuration information was used, as well as logs from Azure and metrics from your kube deployment status replicas in Prometheus. So this is the managed Prometheus in Azure Monitor. And so the user can find the explanation, ask follow-up questions, look at all the underlying details in order to resolve the issue. And the user can also look in the runbook and provide further instructions. So let's say that you have some cryptic information in the logs. You can basically explain to Hawkeye how to decrypt this cryptic information, right? So maybe you have short names, acronyms that everybody knows, but Hawkeye would not know. So you can explain these things, or you can basically have more complex instructions that are based on your documentation or your architecture diagrams. So this is how you basically coach Hawkeye to do a better job at explaining what it's seeing in the logs, metrics, and configuration. Going back to our presentation, I'll wrap this up with a short summary of what you just saw. You have Hawkeye orchestrating now your incident response. So the trigger is going to come either from Slack, Jira, PagerDuty, ServiceNow, or you can actually leverage our APIs to trigger an investigation. The instructions that I showed you are kind of attached to this context coming from the trigger, and then we're going to leverage your existing tools and LLMs to reason about what is going on. So the process basically looks like this. We can also leverage past incidents to provide more context to the LLM so that it can create the right plan, the chain of thought, or in our UI, you saw we call it a runbook. That's going to generate some queries. With those queries, we're going to also generate processing logic so that we can do the right context engineering, so that we're providing just the right information back to the LM. So if you just take your existing data and shove it into an LLM, you're not going to get good results. So this is why we have post-processing and a lot of context engineering that goes into making the most out of these LLMs' reasoning capabilities. So we're handling all the data access and processing for the LLM. And then finally, the analysis will be produced from these results. In summary, Hawkeye addresses the three main challenges faced by SRE teams today: the cost of incidents, slow resolution time, and productivity, as well as alert fatigue. Our customers leverage our SaaS offering, but we also have the ability to deploy in your Azure tenant. This is important for some companies that have security and AI policies that prevent them from using SaaS offerings with AI. In this model, we are managing the infrastructure that you own. So the data never leaves your network, and your AI is what is used for the analysis. So you have full control over your security and AI policies while we provide a fully managed offering in your environment, managing deployments as well as upgrades and monitoring. So getting started with Hawkeye is very simple. You should partner with your head of cloud operations and observability, execute a Hawkeye proof of concept and workshop with NeuBird, and measure concrete results in your environment. We're SOC 2 certified. We deploy in your network. We're not disruptive to your existing observability and incident management tools or workflows, and we provide a rapid ROI. I hope to be speaking with you soon. Enjoy the rest of this conference.